on Instagram. It's my friend Leonardo Jonies, and she's on the Whatever podcast.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's where like guys interview just OnlyFans, and they get in these arguments, and you know, and they're discussing feminism
Uh-huh.
and the intelligence roots of feminism. So the question I want to ask you is, do you think any culture is naturally happening?
Any culture is naturally happening?
Is culture natural, or is there a hidden hand like the intelligence agencies almost
Hmm.
behind every cultural movement?
That I think that the grassroots of any cultural movement come from, I mean, like the very seed of it comes from just your regular people wanting to do something. I think intelligence organizations, CIA, FBI, whatever you want to say, immediately once that thing starts to get some kind of foundation, just swoop right in and take it over. I think they all usually come from a good place, like an authentic, genuine place.
Oh, I
And
like
they,
that.
they become corrupted by people whose job is to corrupt, things that actually seem to be working.
I agree with that. I think they see a movement starting, and their job is to kind of co-opt it
Mhm.
and install their own people.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
they
I don't think.
have, I mean,
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, I don't think the government's smart enough to like. I don't think they were smart enough to start off gangster rap or NWA. I just think they saw it and they're like, "Oh shit, we can run with this." And then they jumped on it, gave them money, gave them radio time. Because yeah, I don't think they got the idea of like, "Oh, we can get them to start doing this."
Right, exactly. And they didn't, I mean, it's the same with like the hippie movement in the 60s, the anti-Vietnam movement. I mean, they 100% were infiltrating that movement in so many ways. And it was because it was working. Like that movement was making an impact. I mean, people were looking unfavorably towards Vietnam, which at the very beginning was a very small group of people who were anti-war. Like most people were still coming off of that World War II, Korean War. War is patriotic. We love it. It can be brutal, but it's, we're fighting for glory and all this crap. Then Vietnam comes along and you still have a little bit of that. But then people start getting like the reality of, oh, this is like there isn't a real enemy. Like there's not a Nazi that we're fighting. Like, I mean, we're just we're kind of fighting people who, I mean, are communists. Like, okay, I mean, are they
Yeah,
evil because they're communists? Like, or they just think something differently? Because they're not Nazis, they're not putting people in concentration camps. They're just communists. And
yeah,
so, yeah,
and if you're super young, so you probably never saw this movie. But have you ever heard the Fog of War, the
I know
movie?
what it is, but I've never seen it.
It's I mean, I remember I was so young. I would just moved to L.A. and I don't know when this. Johnny, will you look up when the Fog of War movie came out? Because I know it's way younger. I don't know how younger. If I was still in my 20s at that time.
You're talking about the documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think it was the early 2000s. Hold on.
2003.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
I just turned 30. I was like 31 at the time. So this is 20 years ago, right? Oh, a little over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that McNamara on there, and they were talking about how like the Gulf of Tonkin never happened, and that
Hmm.
they realized later on. This is what he's saying, that China and Vietnam never got along, so they were never going to work together. And then you kind of start
Right.
going deeper into it. And we've had people on the show talking about how like the real reason we went into Vietnam was the golden triangles of opium. And like, where have we heard that ever since, right? Which is now
Yeah,
like Afghanistan. So it's like,
exactly.
what is the real reason? And then what are we told to sell it as a patriotic duty? And I just feel like they use these game plans and
Mhm.
they manipulate us. But you're totally right about the hippie movement. It started naturally, and then it kind of um got co-opted for sure. And for
Yeah.
me, it's like, and we're seeing this right now. I don't know if you guys been watching this Venezuelan gang stuff. Have you
That's
been seeing
crazy.
Colorado? Yeah. It's
how where it's like people are now going, is it really that what we're being sold at, or is it really a slumlord who won't fix anything, right?
Yeah.
Like that's on the table. But one of the people behind like just organizing everything is this communist chick, this blonde communist chick who is just a rich kid.
Yeah.
So we start getting into this, like, here we go, like the Cultural Revolution of China. We have it happening right here in America. And it just gets into this subversion that we see going on that started way back in the hippie movement, And like, we can get into like what Charles Manson, well, what do you want to talk about? Like Charles Manson and stuff like that?
Well, that's definitely a huge part of it that's a lot of the conspiracy around like how far the CIA was started to push things as far as the hippie movement and trying to sort of diminish it and make it, at first make it just seem like it was a bunch of drug addicted kids, which it really wasn't at the beginning. The hippie movement started out as like on college campuses with, educated, like young kids. And then it turned into, a bunch of people covered in mud with, long hair. And the CIA kind of had a huge part in that, in like manufacturing LSD and having the LSD infiltrate these groups who otherwise weren't doing really any kind of drugs. And then, planting people who would kind of subvert those groups. And one of those people they planted was Charles Manson. Charles Manson obviously is like a career criminal. By the time the Tate murders happened, he had spent more years in jail than out of jail in his whole life. Like he had been incarcerated in some form for the majority of his life. And he's, charismatic, enigmatic person. So they just took him and pumped him full of a bunch of crazy ideas and sent him out.
It's crazy, dude. It is crazy, that whole situation. And it actually goes early because I feel like Charles Manson is the kind of the end of the hippie movement. I feel like the beginning of the hippie movement involves Laurel Canyon, all those rock stars. If we even go to like kind of what's coming out of England at that time, which was the Stones, the Beatles, all that stuff. What was that? Travis Stock. We got the Travis Stock movement going there. How do you pronounce it?
No R. Tavistock.
Tavistock. Tavistock. New York as well, though, with like the Beatniks, because that's even earlier. And they were some of the first people to be like an anti-war, anti-overarching government, in as far as like in the arts scene, with like Bob Dylan and, all the Joan Baez and people like that. So that was already happening. And then a lot of those people came west for that scene, like the Laurel Canyon scene. But then even like the Laurel Canyon scene, most of those rock stars, their parents were high-ranking people in the military. Morrison's dad was the admiral. Like Jim Morrison's dad was the admiral for the Gulf of Tonkin.
It's in the internet, right? So if you go to like Operation Longleash, which is the CIA wanted to give the illusion that democracy allows for more artistic freedom than communism. So then you get into these guys like Pollock, like Noam Chomsky, who I loved as like in college, like reading his books, manufacturing consent and all that stuff. They were all basically funded by the CIA.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's so many movies that are funded by the CIA. Like pretty much any military movie is completely paid for by this, the US government. Like, it's
so sneaky how it's done too. Like, just think about how naive we were even like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We were just like, they're just reporting the news, man. They're just putting out entertainment. They're just trying to entertain us. They're not political. You're like, fast forward 15 years later. I'm watching fucking, what is the latest Mad Max movie? What was it?
Furiosa,
which wasn't that bad of a movie.
No.
It's just like, why? Like the woman they got to play the badass, you could not get more waif model than that.
Is she 100 pounds? It's so silly just watching her.
She is so white and skinny that she's almost invisible. That's how, like,
if she turns sideways, she just disappears.
100%. And you're like, why are you can't get like a cyborg chick to play this or Gina Carano? Just give me a little bit to believe in.
Even Charlize Theron was but at least
Yeah.
you know she existed. You know what I mean? Physically,
Well,
this
yeah,
person.
Charlize Theron definitely fits the bill. I mean, she's like almost damn near 6 foot. Like
Yeah,
she's a
Yeah, she's Australian. Have you been there, dude? They're
South
all
African, I
Amazons
think.
and
Yeah.
pregnant.
yeah, South African.
Yeah, she also
Pregnant.
I mean, she watched her mom kill her dad. I mean, she's been through some
There's
stuff.
I like her.
always-
Yeah.
That gets
Yeah.
back to there's always something, right? There's just always something weird going on.
Yeah.
There's always some weird connection. Like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, I gave him a huge compliment on one of our shows, and he said that he like failed to get. He goes, thank God I failed to get auditions." And I go, "You didn't fail to get auditions. It's just like you just didn't realize how rigged the system is in Hollywood. It is so rigged, right?"
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And that's why we just consistently start seeing the children of these oligarchies and these military these military families in the positions of power constantly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Hollywood is an interesting one. It's more anything involving like the government and politics. That's where it's like, okay, this is because I don't really mind if there's, an actor has a son who's also an actor. I mean, all right, like big deal. But like a head of CEO of a company who has a son who becomes a lobbyist and all, that's when things get like, oh, this has an effect on my life. Like Dennis Quaid's kid being in Scream 6 is not changing my life in any way. I mean, more power to him. But some prick whose kid is, now a lobbyist for his dad's industry, things could get a little screwy with that one.
It only gets weird if they hide it. Like, to me, it's like, why are you changing your name, dog? Just own it.
Yeah.
Just own it.
Yeah,
Okay. You're going to audition for your classmates who went to the same school.
Yeah.
It's just the way I know, like, dude, like this whole thing with LeBron James getting his son on the Lakers. Like, I'm conflicted, right? Because as a guy who has children, I would do anything to help my kids get to where they got to go. So as a dad, I understand that. As a lover of the NBA and this belief that only the best make it in there, it kind of destroys that.
Yeah, it does. It's different whenever the kid has the talent. And, obviously they may get a foot in the door because of who their dad is, but their talent is on par. That motherfucker ain't one of them. Like, it's just how it is. And LeBron, I mean, I'm not like a massive LeBron fan or anything, but if his kid was really good, I'd say, yeah, you should be there. But nah, he ain't one of them. I mean, there's kids down at the park that can play better than Bronny.
He's going to get every opportunity to make it. But what's really weird is when you start to get into this, and particularly Hollywood, you have, multiple generations of people working in there. And like, hey, dude, everyone goes into family business. I really get it. Okay. But when you start to get political after that, that is annoying to me.
Yes.
Like if I see another rich kid tell me that they want their taxes raised, I'm going to lose my effing mind.
You can put in to pay more taxes. Like you can put down, I would like to pay this amount more. You could put in 100% of your income into taxes if you want to. And no, they want it raised for everyone so that they can still use their little tax shelter and look like they're fucking Robin Hood. And they're not. I mean, they're, like Warren Buffett, that prick. I mean, he is more than welcome to pay as much as he wants in taxes. Like the government is not going to say, "Oh, we don't want your money." I mean, but no, he wants everybody else to pay more so that he can still hide behind the fact that people want to believe he still lives in his fucking 40-year-old house and all this crap.
And the truth is, like, these rich kids probably have the same accountant that their parents have that figure out all the way not to pay taxes.
Oh, those accountants are in family businesses. Like their grandparent accountants were helping their grandparent, scumbag businessmen. Yeah. Like it's all just like a one family tree that comes down to help other family trees.
Oh, like the Smiths, like Will Smith and their kids, I think those kids are eventually going to go into politics somehow. Somehow you're going to see one of them run for candidacy, and then you're like, oh look, now they're in policy and they're in politics. It's gonna be crazy.
Can you imagine
Governor
that Willow
Willow.
Smith running for office?
Could you imagine that?
Governor
Running-
Willow.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Hey, y'all think y'all have a problem with old Newsom?
This nation needs a
Jesus.
bisexual, biracial fan. I
whip
mean,
my hair
dude.
back and forth, and I lower taxes. You know, can you imagine?
Yeah, and then they're
God.
doing all this. It's like it's so crazy to me. Even like, and then you get into the diversity issue in the in Hollywood, and then you start getting
Yeah.
into who actually gets the gigs, and it's like all rich diversity kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all
Who aren't
Ivy League
going.
schools.
Yeah.
It's
They're
just,
not
like,
going
so
through the
crazy to
same
me.
thing. Yeah. They're not going through the same thing that a Hispanic kid who comes from like a poor family is going through. Like, your dad's, this millionaire. Like, your life is all right. Like, you're not the one being affected by like a lack of diversity. Like,
I really do think it's rich kids waging war in the middle class right now. Just rich kids who were born into a world, okay, of just where they never had any needs ever.
Mhm.
And they're just like able to like fantasize, like just kind of like culturally jack off to this fucking like this fear of the shadow in the cave, So they wage war against middle class people. Like as you try to save the planet, or as you try to like, what was it? Like I forget who said goes, Kamala Harris could do this. I wouldn't care. I'd still vote for her over Trump. You're like, that's so insane to me. And I don't think Trump is the savior either. But I mean, we could sit there and have a conversation. But the fact that you like, even if you admit your candidate sucks, you're still going to vote over because the theory of something is so nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's ridiculous. I think there is nothing on this planet more dangerous than a rich kid with nothing to do. Because they, like whenever I'm still young, obviously, but whenever I was like teenager, high school, obviously I was very idealistic, just like any teenager is. And I thought I was going to change the world, but I was, lower middle class. There ain't much options I had. If I came from a family of like millionaires, oh boy, I could have done some real damage. Like that's what's dangerous. Like these people that, being in Hollywood's one thing, but yeah, whenever your kids are now getting involved into politics, it's like, yeah, you can actually fuck up someone's life.
So it's like it's just basically these LARPs they put in positions, these live action role players that they put in these different positions, and they push certain narratives. And when they need narratives pushed, somehow, some way, they get a message, and they just start spouting this craziness.
Yeah,
their job is to send culture in certain directions. Even if it means destroying brands, they don't care as long as their message gets pushed out. And like we're seeing all these brands just destroy themselves with like wokeness. Like even Harley Davidson's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like
What?
Who is your audience that you're going woke?
Wait, what they do?
Yeah, what they do?
They did some gay pride shit, and dude, like nobody's buying their bikes right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, they dress. I mean, the average biker is, dressed like every single person
leather
at a
daddy?
pride parade. So yeah, I mean,
That's a good point.
Yeah, they all got the Rob Halford collection. So, I mean, yeah.
It tells you how powerful the forces must be that influence them to embark on campaigns like that, because they know that from a financial perspective, it's not profitable to do that. We've learned that. That's been well established by now. The go woke, go broke thing, it's trite, to say, but it's quite true in everything we've seen, so the forces that are pushing them in this direction, to make these ridiculous woke campaigns are clearly, profit is not the primary motive there. There's something, more essential to.
Yeah.
But
But
they're
never
profit.
underestimate the power of bad publicity.
Look at this.
Bad publicity will make people do some wild shit. His news plan.
This is crazy.
Damn.
And
Boy.
like this is the debate that Johnny and I get into all the time, and Johnny just playing devil's advocate, but it's like I think they do this to get in favor of these giant investment firms. And there's, everyone debates what role does BlackRock have in forcing culture.
Mhm.
And it just seems to me that when your demographic is the opposite of the LGBTQ karate, whatever it is, right?
Okay.
That why do you have to do that? Why does Bud Light have to go woke? Like your demographic is like frat boys who can't afford real beer. So they just buy your piss in a can.
That's it.
Can it just be that they're dumb? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, can it be that they just think in their minds that they're making the right decision, and that it's just a bad move? Because businesses do that. I mean, like, McDonald's has done it. I mean, Coca-Cola with, new Coke. Like, it does happen where companies just make a real tactical error. But it does seem like there's more with like woke. There's more to it with like whenever a company tries to go woke than to just try to change.
Like, who they couldn't make them? Who wouldn't do it? Chick-fil-A.
Hell no.
Why won't Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out? Why do they stand their ground? Why can't anyone else? They make money. They make their loot. I don't understand why they're like, I don't know. It just makes weird because I know you couldn't get In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A to do it.
Seem like they have their roles to play in the culture war too, don't they?
They do. It's just the opposite side.
Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nonlinear warfare.
Yeah. The loyal opposition,
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like, again, we've said this forever on the show. We seem to be in this business era.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're not really trying to reach your crowd. Like going back to Hollywood, like we've discussed. I mean, it's just like you do stuff about female Jedis on Disney, and then you greenlight another female Jedi show, and your audience doesn't want it. Like Hollywood is the only, and this is what I get in arguments with, and this is what frustrates me about Hollywood all the time. It's like everyone's bitching about this, but nobody wants to say anything because if you get one red light in the process of getting hired, you never work. So you have to bend over backwards. Like, yeah, like 5-year-olds should be able to get sex change at fucking surgery. Yeah. Yeah. I want to host a new show called Animals Do the Craziest Shit, and like that's the only way you get that role. That's the only way you can host a show about animals doing crazy shit. Is if you say 5-year-olds should be able to get sex changes.
The amount of children in Hollywood, children of like Hollywood stars who are going through sex change operations is wild. I don't know what like the national average is, like the rate is gotta be super low. But there's this little pocket in the US called Hollywood where holy hell. I mean, it just seems like every kid of a celebrity is trans, which I mean, maybe it's just an anomaly, but I don't think so.
Do you think that? I mean, like, no dude, it's not an anomaly. No. It's like a participation trophy.
Yeah,
it's the new Boy Scouts. I mean,
right? It's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's just the like virtue signaling that goes into so much of like the decisions where it's just so obviously pandering. Like all of these, like the Disney, like the Pixar stuff is just so obviously pandering to, this group that as small as they actually are, have such a powerful voice in getting people to do stuff that is going to ruin their company. It's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, this doesn't clarify, but there's 21 in this little article. 21 celebrities who are proud of their trans and non-binary kids.
Jesus Christ. Oh, Liev Schreiber, he's pissed off.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Cher.
Well,
Yeah.
Chaz Bono's like the Rosa Parks of this shit.
Yeah,
Like,
she had a addictomy back in the early 2000s.
J-Lo
Yeah,
in there too.
J-Lo has
Yeah.
like 3.
No, that's Megan Fox. I think that's Megan Fox.
But
One that
yeah.
has 3. Yeah.
Megan Fox, and they kick you out of your house if you're not trans. And that it's like the opposite.
When
of
when the mom lays out the clothes, it's like it's all the opposite sex clothes.
yeah.
Oh, look at this one, a union.
Yeah, Dwayne. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a. Yeah.
He's got to watch out for Dwight.
And then
Howard.
all of a
Gets
sudden
old.
now he's calling games. He's he's got his own a ridiculous game show that he's running.
New
and
kind
it's
of
just like-
sacrifice, isn't it? Genital sacrifice. Hey man,
Hey man,
that's not
gonna
that's
get you-
nothing.
hey man, do you want to live nice? You want your parents to live nice? Play this game.
Yeah.
Some would
I
say
mean,
it's
like-
better than a full sacrifice.
What
Some would say it's better than a full sacrifice.
is it? I don't know, dude. I
Look,
think
That's,
it's-
yeah.
But when we get into this like MKUltra cult stuff, dude.
Mhm.
Do you think they knowingly do it? Do you think someone whispers in the air, you gotta do this? What do you think it is? Do they just kind of read the room?
You in what sense? Like whenever the CIA is doing like MK Ultra stuff to people?
Well, it's CIA occult stuff, like when you see all this like dark art shit,
Mhm.
involved in Hollywood. I had a discussion with my good friends and they kind of lecture me because I would always say it's like God versus fallen angels, and they had a real problem with that because they think God if God wants to come down and just wreck shop, right? That's their opinion. And I understand what
Yeah.
they're saying, but I do
Right.
believe there is a part of Hollywood that is like worships the watchers, like they're watchers, and they worship this dark art shit. My question is, do you think somebody pulls them aside and tells them that? Do they figure it out? Do they just try to act a fool? Like, do they just start virtue signaling? Because I saw friends of mine in comedy who were really dark on stage, and then just one day they just stopped and their career just exploded.
That's yeah. I know it does seem like those changes are never gradual. Which, in a if it was an authentic change is usually pretty gradual. Like when somebody gets better at something or changes the way they do something, it's usually not an overnight thing, but it does seem like a lot of those times it is overnight, which would imply someone is forcing the change, that they didn't just have an epiphany. Epiphanies rarely happen, that it's more just someone said, you might want to play ball and things will work out a lot better for you.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I wholeheartedly think that's the case for say 90% of the time. I mean, of course, there's always anomalies, there's always, outliers, but 90% of the time for sure. Yeah, I think.
Then you get into those blood sacrifices and you're like, I mean, like how so many of these people have weird deaths in their family, like weird deaths out of like nowhere.
Yeah.
Like just like they're kind of famous and then bang, this death happens and suddenly they're super famous.
Yeah.
And it's
Kanye.
so weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, Kanye's
That's the
the
one.
biggest one, man.
Yep.
That one is, to this day, I don't get how they wouldn't have just made a better excuse of her dying than to say she had a error with plastic surgery. Like that's,
At her house.
yeah.
It was it was at her
But
house. It
Kanye-
was- yeah.
Dude, Kanye blew up after that happened and became different. I mean, I'm sure Kanye was always a little weird, but he became very different after that happened. Of course, your mom dying is going to do something, but it's just, there was something always off about that to me. Like that's how she died. Huh. And then you just become so famous. Like, yeah, that's a weird one to me.
It's a weird one. Jennifer Hudson. You remember that, dude?
Oh, it was her brother, was it?
Like her
Something like that?
family. Like, she was like American Idol and then suddenly bang, all that. And now she's like she's like, I don't know if she won an Oscar before or after that. I'm pretty sure it's after.
Wasn't it for
If you look that
Dreamgirls
up-
after that?
What's that?
It was Dreamgirls, wasn't it? Wasn't that after that? Like
Was
right
that after that,
that?
Johnny?
I think so. Let me see what year is.
Damn it, Johnny, you're the worst.
Dreamgirls is 06, and then let me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because it was the Oscars in 07 is whenever she actually
And
won
the
the
murder
Oscar.
was 08. So
So right
Okay.
after.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It says on October 24, 2008, the bodies of Academy Award winning actress Jennifer Hudson's mother and brother were found in the family's home. Now, I don't necessarily know that. I mean, I think you make these pacts
Mhm.
before, you get your fame, but I don't know necessarily that the price is paid before.
Oh,
You know
I
what I
would
mean?
just think that could be after. They'd be like, she'd be like,
Yeah.
"Damn, dude, I got this. I didn't even have to lose anybody."
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a favor to the Godfather. You know what I mean? He's
Like
like, hey, this time may never come, but
Yeah.
I will call upon you, and your family's gonna get murdered. So
It's the 27 club, basically. I mean, because that's how
Yeah.
that works.
I
Like
mean,
you
sure.
get the fame, you just only get it until you're 27.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. You know what else that happened to Megan the Stallion? And I remember
I'm sorry,
Larry.
Sam. It's Megan the Stallion.
Stallion. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you for correcting him, Johnny. Thank
My
you.
apology, guys. What was the name of the running back that we had on, Johnny? Lawrence.
Larry Johnson?
Larry Johnson. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
great, Larry.
Larry Johnson was going really hard at her about her mother passing, and then bang, she just blew the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something to that. There's something that happens like with a lot of these people. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it happens, and then boom.
It's so crazy to me, dude. It is so crazy. And then, it's just like, again, it's like if there's no God, like everybody, well, then why does the other side worship the enemy? If there's no God,
Yeah.
I think the biggest argument for God is the Satan worship going on with all of these power structures, whether it's Hollywood, banking, governments, like this dark art shit. You see Chelsea Clinton going around with a cross upside down. It's like crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of it too is like whenever you get into like occultism and Satanism is whether or not they actually are worshiping like Satan or an idea of Satan. And that in that idea, they themselves are a god. Because that's what most Satanism is like it's like the Aleister Crowley kind of like, I am my own God, the will to power, it's like Nietzsche, I think, and all that kind of stuff. But then they still do some of the same like weird ritual shit. So it's like, well, what are you doing that for then? If you don't think there is a Satan, then what the fuck is this ritual? And yeah.
All the people that worship Satan all just seem like nerd dorks or fat chicks.
Yeah. Or Marilyn Monroe. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, was
Yeah.
she a Satan worshiper?
She used to be in a relationship with the guy, Anton LaVey, that made the Church of Satan. Her and
That
Jane
chick
Mansfield.
slinged pussy to every major influencer out there.
Everybody.
She was oh my God. She was
Yeah.
banging movie stars, baseball. Joe
Mhm.
DiMaggio.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Joe DiMaggio, if you ever watch his quotes about her, like he knew that she was getting in with some dark people and like really feared. I think he's the one guy that really loved her because
Yeah.
there's that thing where he sent flowers to her grave like every week or twice a week for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like, he just had flowers sent and changed on her grave for the rest of his life. And I think he even had a standing order like after his death, possibly. And there's a lot of quotes around that time that he was devastated by her death, and he knew she was getting in with the wrong crowd, and was just
that guy was just fell in love with a hooker. Like he just did.
Yes.
Dude. He
Yes.
just did. Like that's the guy. That guy, Captain Save a Hoe. He tried his hardest. We've all had that, dude, where we fall in love with broken toys.
Oh, and he found the number one. I can see it. I mean,
The only one I would say was over her is probably Courtney Love.
Oh gosh. I mean, what a mess. What a mess.
Both have a lot of trauma in there. Like, think about this, dude. Think about how beautiful Marilyn Monroe was, and nobody wanted to adopt her. Is that what you're telling us? Nobody. You walk in, and the brightest of white light is just sitting there. You're like, nah. I mean, I would like really. It's a lot darker than that, dude. There was something going on that she couldn't find anyone to adopt her.
Yeah. Yeah. Or anyone to stay with her too. Like, cause people can, you can put up with some stuff if somebody looks good. And I mean, and all these dudes were just like some of the ugly, and I'm no, George Clooney or anything, but some of these dudes were, boy, I mean, DiMaggio might be one of the goofiest looking people on the planet. It's like he couldn't keep Marilyn Monroe. Like the other guy, Arthur Miller, that wrote, The Crucible.
Yeah.
Like he's another one. I mean, all these guys, like,
well, she's kind of the muse, right? Or there's something about her that is like her purpose is to inspire great men.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something with her energy that she has to be around men who've like accomplished things. I mean,
that's the Courtney Love thing.
In general, they love that, but
yeah. That's the Courtney Love thing too, is that she's like the grunge version of that, because she was with like Billy Corgan, and I mean he wrote a lot of like
she got a hell of an album out of it. Actually, an album and a half. Yeah, I mean those couple of whole albums are okay, and she got basically given to her.
I mean, and that's another thing. Nirvana. I mean, what I grew up thinking they were versus what I learned later on is insanity to me. Insanity, dude.
Yeah.
So they have another drummer. Somehow he decides to leave right in time for Dave Grohl to step in there. Okay, Dave Grohl, great drummer, but his dad, like the funniest thing about this whole thing about Dave Grohl going, you can't use my song. It's a song. It's like your dad used to write for Ronald Reagan. Like, what are you fucking talking about, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. Dave Grohl's a suspicious character as well. He's a little too loved. Anytime someone just becomes like universally loved, I immediately am like, red flag. There's got to be something up. And I think he's the guy to point fingers at more than Courtney Love for like the Cobain thing.
Well, bro, I mean, you look at a guy who lost 2 people along the way.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Taylor Hawkins thing, I think you could definitely put a lot of that on Dave Grohl for sure.
It is super crazy. But if you study it, so Ronald Reagan's kid comes in, joins the band, grunge band, right?
Mm-hmm.
He invests heavily in the what?
Ronald Reagan's kid?
Ronald Reagan's, excuse me. Ronald Reagan,
he was one of his
speechwriter.
Right. Yeah.
Joins the band, invests heavily in the band. Dave Grohl's dad. Oh, no, excuse me. Courtney Love starts dating Kurt Cobain. Her dad, who was the manager for the Dead, was roommates with Geffen back in the day, who ends up signing the band. That is natural. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, it's so stacked. You can't get mad.
Yeah. Oh, and then it's just crazy. Like, we'll just say that instead of saying that they were just some band from Aberdeen, Washington that got lucky and got their big break. Yeah. Yeah.
Shucks. I wish it worked out.
I mean, like, yeah. There's so much.
What do you guys think about the number one Satanist, Kat Von D? She became what do you think? Do you think she went through some trauma? You think she just saw some things? I always wonder what happened with her. She got baptized, sold her mansion in LA.
Mm-hmm. Covered her tattoos. Yeah, she did I think that people because I used to like look into like Satanism and stuff like that, just like curious, like what do they think, all that kind of stuff. Fascinating about like Anton LaVey. It is a very addicting like philosophy, because the whole philosophy is like make yourself a god. It's full hedonism, whatever you want to do, as long as you're not hurting someone, which they even, toe the line on that. But it's like, it's intoxicating to be a Satanist, to like really dive into that. But it is dark. I mean, it makes you feel dark, because like ultimately you're not supposed to feel that way as a human. You're not supposed to feel that you're a superior being than anyone else. And I think over time you start getting into circles with people who are just not good people, who hold on to it. And then you see like how intense it gets. You're like, oh, okay. This is not like just some, gothic fantasy thing. This is like, it actually is very for real.
I know in LA here, there's a divide. I can't remember. It's between the Church of Satan and the other organization, because one of them are kind of like a group. They're more like pranksters, like trolls. They consider themselves just like, hey, we're fucking with religious people, basically, and that's their whole tenet.
That's the Satanic Temple.
Okay, the Satanic Temple, yeah, and then the Church of Satan, and that's like it's like a blood feud in LA apparently between those two groups. They
Which two groups again?
It's the Satanic Temple
so
and
there's
the Church of Satan, right?
Yeah, there's the Satanic Temple and Church of Satan. The Satanic Temple are just atheists who they like to screw with Christians.
Yeah, they're
That's
the
like
ones
their
that pay
main
for
thing.
the monuments of like Baphomet on public. Anytime one tries to get the Ten Commandments put on the lot of the courthouse, they try to get Baphomet put there too, just to prove the point, and to fuck with of course Christians. But they don't have much of like any kind of like what would you say anything parallel to a religion though, right?
No, they're complete atheists. I mean, it's there's no theocracy to or theology to it. Like it's completely just it's like damn, can't think of the word for it, but it's like a humanism. So like humanism, where
Secular
they just
humanism.
believe, secular humanism. That's more of their belief. But then they add Satan into it because it makes it funny in some ways. Like to say like, oh, we're going to put this giant Baphomet statue in a city hall in Houston is hilarious. And so they do that, but then there's the actual Satanists, like the Luciferians, the people that come from like Anton LaVey's like philosophies and all that, who are legitimate Satanists. And
they use some of the same images in Baphomet and those things.
Yeah, because it's ultimately still a satanic image, like Baphomet. Like they're doing it, like the Satanic Temple, they do it because it's a satanic image, and it's one that, like, if you're not into that, is pretty shocking. So that's why they pick it.
Though, can be easy to confuse if you don't
exactly.
know.
Yeah, they're doing it on purpose. Like that's part of their shtick. But then, the actual Satanists, like they don't call it a religion, but it's a religion. It is 100% a religion. Yeah.
Fascinating.
And it's a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons dorks trying to bang fat goth chicks. I mean, dude, if you look at this show, Tinfoilhat, the vibe when Ryan, Off the Grid Ryan, was booking it, and it's just totally 180. Like he had that fucking idiot Lucius Gaines or whatever his name is.
Lucian Greaves. Yeah.
That guy's a retard. I'll have him.
He is a moron.
Straight to his face. Like, dude, you got a fake name. You're a Democratic like fundraiser, and you're just trying to bang fat goth chicks. Okay, that's all you're trying to do.
Anybody raising money for the Democrats and claiming to be, rebelling against the powers, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dude, you're not rock and roll if you're raising money for the Democrats. You're not punk rock.
So dumb, dude.
You're
it's
Springsteen.
So dumb.
You're as establishment as it gets.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about how this is like the craziest like realignment politically that we've seen forever. Now, how much of it is theater? That's debatable, right? But I mean, you have RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard moving over to the Trump side, while all the lizards are going the other way. Like, you have all the aides for George Bush. What's his name? Has shot his friend on a hunting trip.
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. John McCain, and all the other swamp people, all their assistants are going over the Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Well, they think she's going to win, and they just want to be on the winning side because they need a job.
I think she's also, she's as much a neocon as any Republican that's run for office over the last 20 years. I mean, the last non-neocon we had to run was George Bush before 9/11. He was a non, he ran on no nation building, but I mean, which is crazy. I wonder, part of me wonders how much that guy, if he was just a stooge really, and there's
definitely an argument for that.
You're talking about
genuinely. I feel like he was so convincing because he genuinely believed a lot of the shit he was saying. And I think he thought he was going to do no nation building. And then when he got in there, he just had Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, two of the most manipulative fucks in the history of politics. And, he's not got all the brain power. He's not working with a lot of horsepower up top. You know what I mean? So when they come whispering in your ear, it's like, hey, don't you want to go into Iraq? Did try to kill your father. He had no chance. That guy had no chance.
No, W was not.
Don't get me wrong, dynasty scumbag, but
yeah, he was not the president. I mean,
no, exactly.
Dick Cheney was the president, and Rumsfeld was the vice president. W was just the lovable mascot, the Ronald McDonald.
The Biden.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, he was not making a whole lot of decisions in the Oval Office. Like, it was Cheney and Rumsfeld and all the other dickheads that were part of that group who were just going.
You saw that on 9/11. I mean, that's on the record. Dick Cheney was calling the shots on 9/11. We know that.
Yeah. I mean, the Bush family, and then H.W. Bush, I think, had a lot to do with it. George H.W. Bush is one of the most secretly manipulative people in U.S. history. People just kind of love him.
And it goes back to what you're saying about how, if they're too liked, not that he was too liked, but they literally promoted him as a wimp. You're like, he's such a wimp. Dude, look what a wimp he is. Like, dude, this guy helped assassinate the president.
Cutthroat. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he was the head of he is the top dog in the CIA. Like, George H.W.
monster.
Yeah, George H.W. Bush is a trained assassin. I mean, he just is verbally a wimp compared to Ronald Reagan. So they had to promote him that way because he's not going to have that same bravado. But behind closed doors, George H.W. Bush was doing all those things with the Carlyle Group and the weapons, manufacturing, and that just so happened to be coinciding with 9/11, and that he's meeting with fucking the Bin Laden family the morning of 9/11. It's like, well, what are the chances of that? I mean, and then him being his family being best friends with John Hinckley's family, and you don't see there's a connection with that, with John Hinckley shooting Reagan in the damn chest. HW was a real scumbag.
A real scumbag, bro. I mean, literally, his dad worked with Nazis, and this Hitler dick riding shit is starting to get out of fucking control. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, even though Adam Green and I don't necessarily agree on every talking point, but I do think he's totally right about this is just a fulfillment of these Abrahamic apocalyptic prophecies, dude. And this whole thing with Hitler's now the good guy. I mean, what a great way to divide and conquer, huh? I mean, what a great, these people are nuts. They're just nuts. You really do believe, not you, anybody on the show, that a country that just got annihilated in World War I on lockdown would allow that dude to naturally rise on his own? Is that what you really do believe? You really do believe that? And he wasn't a fucking sugar baby for all of these fucking centralized banks in America, all these fucking Federal Reserves. I mean, I could prove it to you, but everyone's gonna dismiss it. And then all the money sent to the Bank of International Settlements. Nobody can answer that. The way people answer it to me, they had mountains. There's a lot of mountains in Switzerland. That's why he didn't go in, because there's so many mountains in Switzerland. He couldn't. So the people working with the UFOs down in Antarctica were afraid of fucking mountains. Fucking there's mountains. You don't want to go in the mountains, man. Really bad stuff. But you'll go into Russia right before winter, but you won't go in the mountains. Nope. Mountains are bad. But back to what we're talking. It's chaos right now, dude. It's fucking chaos. I don't know why I went on that rant, but it was fucking annoying me, dude. Yeah, I mean, dude. Well, it goes back to George Bush working with with the Nazis.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson's a weird guy. Like as much as I like some of the stuff, like he also is like, what? What's
You
up with
see-
that red band you got around your wrist? And
That's definitely Kabbalah. I mean, that's for sure. That's what it
for
is.
sure,
Yeah.
dog,
Yeah.
sorcery.
Wait. Okay. Not to play devil's advocate, but he's on tour and
You
he's
got to be able
on,
to spell it first.
No, then I can't.
Okay, go on, go.
But
on. 'Cause I-
to play devil's advocate on the real though, he's on tour with Alex Jones. One of his tour dates is with Alex Jones. So if we're gonna say he's up there, are we gonna say Alex Jones is in on it too?
I don't think we're
everybody's-
saying he's up. I don't think we're saying that. He's weird, man. That's all. I just
He's
think he's
weird.
like he might have
He's
his own
w-
agenda. Or I think he's definitely been
definitely
on the
weird.
farm. He's been on the established. Like he's been their guy before.
Definitely, yeah.
And I don't know what he is now, but he's an odd guy. I mean, just some of the stuff he does. Like he'll do these random, like, did you see that video a couple weeks ago where it was just like an ad for the Cybertruck, basically? It was just like, hey, let's check out this guy's Cybertruck on the farm. And it was just this whole video of him dicking around with a guy on the farm and his Cybertruck. So I don't, like, have you heard him talk? He doesn't have a TV. He doesn't
Nothing. He has no
which
email,
tells-
nothing.
which tells
According
me
to
he
him,
knows
yeah.
the evil of it. He he's kind of a Luddite with respect to technology. So he knows that, I don't no, I still don't think I don't think his true intentions have been revealed yet. There's something going on.
It's just super interesting, dude. And it's just like when you study, like, because he's a big guy trying to rehabilitate Nixon's image, and you're like, bro, no.
Yeah, same with Kevin Spacey. You had him on, and there's a movement now among people who kind of are, adjacent to our sphere, who are like, let's bring back Kevin Spacey. And it makes me wonder, like, do we need to do some more research on that guy? No, right? Like, that guy's a scumbag, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because there are a lot of people. Have you noticed that? Like, a lot of people who I would say we think are decent people who have had him on. And have
well, Johnny,
heard
the one of the things I'll say is, and you've been a kind of a champion of this, is like when you push the Woody Allen, like the story may not be what we think it is.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, because I know what that. I mean, I know what happened with that situation.
But Woody Allen, none of the witnesses against Woody Allen suddenly in just a giant rash of like weeks all died.
And there weren't a bunch of them, that was
Right.
insane.
You got like 4 cases and 3 of them dead. Like, okay, that seems lucky.
Let's not remember the commercial he did right before that real weird commercial where he was like
really
in character.
weird commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a move. That commercial. Damn. Yeah, he's trying. They're trying to give him the Polanski treatment. Like having everybody basically just sign a paper saying, "Hey, we love Roman Polanski," and hoping that that list doesn't come out. Which
it's different when you're behind the camera, though, isn't it? It's
very different.
I mean, he's on camera talent, and people got to look at that face, man. They got to think about the things he did.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but he always plays scumbags, right? Kinda like
always.
He should be like, dude, these are the roles I'm playing.
Yeah,
I fit perfectly into that.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's opposite John Wayne. Like he's always playing the person you do not like. American Beauty might be an exception, but even then, he's a fucking pedo.
Good movie.
Like, I mean, he's like a likable pedo.
Think about that, dude.
In that movie.
Think about like how that movie was received, and like versus like if it came out today.
Great. I mean, it won an Oscar. It was Sam Mendes's first movie, and he won the Oscar. Like, oh yeah, that's crazy. There's no.
But no, I watched it again recently. I used to when I was, what was that, 99 probably. I like that movie. And I watched it again recently, and he's just. Knowing what you know now about him, he comes off like a skis. Like he's really creepy in that movie.
Yeah, he's I've found it so weird. The Kevin comeback is a strange.
Well, he did go on. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
Oh no, that was it. Yeah. He's just.
Do you think he'll work though? Do you think they'll let him work again? I don't. There's just too much financial risk. Maybe one of these kind of like, what would you say, like fringe Hollywood movies, that gets made up in Vancouver.
He is doing that. he has a movie coming out like
Oh, really?
somewhat soon, I think, or it's in filming. It might be like in production.
See what
Yeah.
What is
It's not a. I mean, I thought I saw like an article about it and kind of looked, and it was like some like kind of nothing thing.
It's called Peter 5'8", and he plays Peter.
Wow,
It's
there you go.
dude, come on. Hold on, I have to show you guys the movie poster for this. Is this the least convincing movie poster you've ever seen? Look, they got this toupee on.
Rebecca
Bond.
De Mornay.
Like, come on, dude, you're not James Bond.
When did this come out?
It's 2020. Rebecca De Mornay. I mean, like, just the 80s. Oh my God,
Rebecca De Mornay. That is amazing.
look at his toupee too. Like, come on, man.
God, you should have Jason Scott Lee.
Nothing is what it seems.
God,
Yeah, it's just really weird, you know.
that's amazing.
It's really weird.
A
dude.
seemingly glamorous real estate agent in a small mountain community is revealed to be an unhinged alcoholic with a dark secret when a charismatic man in black, that's him, shows up one day at the behest of his shadowy boss. Oh, wow.
You know he's money hungry when he's doing a movie like that.
Oh yeah, that's what the whole comeback thing is. He's
he lost his house.
Yeah. God, yeah, and there's no YMCA's for him to stay at. Yeah,
we could probably get him to appear in one of our little. We could probably get him to appear.
What's his cameos cost?
I wonder if he's on Cameo. Yeah, it's probably beneath him. He would think. Let's see.
I mean, this movie's.
I mean, he did this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this movie's not up there.
No, he's not on there. But just wait. I don't. The other thing is that he keeps appearing in character as Frank Underwood from House of Cards, and I don't know what that's about. It's strange. He does it. You know, he did that Christmas message every year for a couple of years in character. I'm sure Netflix is like, will you stop doing that?
He's subliminally trying to bring it back. Like basically trying to get enough people. He's trying to like Ryan Reynolds this thing. Like show an example and get people so like ready for it that they just hard Netflix until they make it happen.
Yeah, if you don't know, Ryan Reynolds was trying to get Deadpool made for years. They let him appear in that terrible Fox, X-Men movie, where they literally had to seal his mouth shut so he couldn't do the fourth wall stuff. And then he had to, independently finance a little test screening of one of the major action sequences in the first film, the freeway sequence. And then they brought that to the studio because the studio wasn't going to invest. And then finally they were like, all right, we see it. Do your R-rated superhero movie, fall on your face. And then of course it became this, the savior of Marvel Jesus, as he says.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's get into other shitty Marvel shows and people who started them. Jared Leto, that movie came and went. And,
that's the one with Madrigal, right?
Yeah. Poor Madrigal, man. He I think COVID hit right before that, and it was like delayed, and he had
Morbius. Yeah, that was a
great actor. Magical. He's a good guy.
He's a good actor.
I went and one of the big changes in my life is a long time ago, many moons ago, I did mushrooms at a giant concert. It was the K-Rock Almost Acoustic Christmas, which is they get like you catch on the right night, they got some murder bands. And I got to see like Prophets of Rage, which I mean, dude, what you want to talk about what like being called in favors, like what is going on with Chuck D right now? Like Chuck D, like the whole thing was like 911 is a joke and racism and then he's like taking pictures with Blinken. I'm like, dude, you don't get more man than that. I mean, it's
really? That's so depressing.
I know.
I love Chuck D. You guys know I love Chuck D. Getting his dick kicked in.
Good. You sell your soul, you should get your dick kicked in.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm a huge, huge Public Enemy fan. I saw Prophets of Rage too, like when that kind of first started. One
of the best concerts. I mean, just crushed. And who's the guy that's in Eagles of Death Metal that was in a bigger band? What's that bigger band?
Josh Homme. Is he in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
No, he's in Them
friends with those
Crooked
guys,
Vultures.
right? Yeah.
But is
Yeah,
he in a big band or
No.
bigger band than that? I forget what the
Wait,
name is.
who are you?
Are you talking about Them Crooked Vultures?
No,
Are you
who's
thinking
the
of-
lead? Who's the fuck? He played
Big-
drums in
No, Josh Homme was in Eagles of Death Metal, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, he was
Oh, I
like
didn't know
Eagles
that.
of Death Metal,
Yeah.
but he was the front man for another band.
Queens of the Stone
Well, yeah,
Age.
he's in Queens of Stone Age. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
That's his
dude.
main band.
So Queens of Stone Age went up and they crushed it. Like, there was a female photographer getting too close, so he kicked her camera.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
became, Rockstar kicks woman. It's like,
I-
get out of there, bitch. Okay.
I like him. He's from the high desert out here. He like plays Pioneer Town all the time. They'll just show up and play Pioneer Town, the small little. It's this old place where they used to film old westerns, and they still have the sets up from it. And there are a few little houses around it, and there's this bar out there with a venue in the back, and they'll just show up and play.
Where is it?
It's in the high desert, like near Joshua Tree out that
I'll
way.
move there right now. I don't even
beautiful.
care, bro. Get me the
Beautiful.
fuck out of LA, dude. I'll move there right now. But the reason I bring up Queens of Stone Age, because they annihilated. And then the final band that night was 50 Seconds from Mars.
Jared Leto's
And
30 seconds more. Yeah.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30
It's
seconds.
50 seconds now. He's gotten older, so
Okay, yeah, it's taking a little longer to get there. 30 Seconds from Mars, and I was like, "What is this guy doing here? Fuck this band, dude!" And dude, they annihilated, dude. They were
Yeah.
so good, and I was blown away by how good they were. And I ended up like, "Oh, okay, man, this," it's like my hatred of how pretty he is. Like, fuck you can't have it all,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get to become a cult leader without having some charisma, I guess. So
Oh,
makes sense.
God. Yeah.
But dude, he's an actor, and he's one of those crazy actors where he annoys people with his method acting. Right?
Yeah.
Well, dude,
Yeah,
I told you I used to date this girl who was one of his assistants. He's got like a legion of assistants, and he lives in that like ex-military base, intelligence base thing up on the hill. And dude, she would. Yeah, sorry.
Zoom agrees with you. Zoom agrees with you, dude.
And she would see some weird shit up there, dude. Like, she would tell me all the kind of just strange things with like, just women showing up in like robes and just weird stuff, like culty stuff.
It's so funny.
What is that group called, dude? What was his group called? His like fan group?
Echelon.
Yeah, Echelon, right? Yeah, and they would have this like sleepaway camp, adult camp, where they just go there and he walks around like Jesus, just kind of blessing them all.
It's called
Fuck.
Camp
She's an
Mars.
fat chick.
Mars, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. He has one in LA and then he now does one in Croatia. The
You seem to know
Croatia
a lot
one.
about Camp Mars.
Look, let me tell you something. So I whenever I was younger, like in high school, I dated a girl who was obsessed with 30 Seconds to Mars and all shocked about it. So I naturally hated them. And and just would just shit on Jared Leto every chance I got.
I get it, dude.
Dude, I hate it. Like, I think he's a mediocre actor, but I do think he's a good musician. But I would just shit on him all the time. And then started listening to them and was like, holy fuck, this band is amazing. And I became like obsessed with them. And it was like, holy shit, I'm becoming part of the Echelon and I didn't even know it. And so I just became fascinated by Jared Leto. I was like, how the fuck? Because this music isn't like the greatest music ever written, but why am I suddenly becoming obsessed with it? It's like this dude figured out how to make music that like damn near brainwashes you into loving it, like instead of genuinely loving it. Like it's this weird thing. And then you just find out, oh, he's a cult leader. It's like, well, this makes perfect sense. He's David Koresh if David Koresh was actually good at playing the guitar. Like that's and then so then I just dove into like, that what you were talking about, the intelligence military base that, he has that weird little like art show and art gallery thing that he does there.
Yep.
And I've heard so many stories from people that it gets fucking weird there, like especially with like girls of questionable age.
Oh, snaps.
Yeah. Like a lot of girls where you're like, you're not 18. There's no way. And And yeah, and him dressing in robes, and he walks around like with his palms out, like he's, like in a Mel Gibson
personal
movie. Like,
Jesus.
yeah. And yeah, and now he did one in LA, and it was kind of like a like a summer camp for adults basically. And it was, kind of mild, but
Do guys go there?
oh yeah. It's for anyone. It's mostly yeah, I mean, of course it's mostly chicks. Then this one right here, this is the one in Croatia. So now he does one in Croatia where this kind of shit's going on. So the one in LA isn't like that, or wasn't. I mean, it may be now. It was like him just dressed like normal, and he does like concerts all the time and all this stuff. This thing has turned
Like
into
Maharishi. What are we talking about?
Yes. So this has turned into like Midsommar,
Yeah.
just so weird. But that's the one in Croatia, and it's like basically Fire Festival, but
Yeah, they're trying
somehow
to
worse.
You want to be a cult leader when literally Jared Leto is doing the exact thing.
Yeah,
he's boning.
100%.
How many of those? What's the percentage he's boning? Pretty high.
I mean, 100% of the ones he wants.
He's just pointing. Okay, bring her back. Bring her back. Bring her for the celebration of festival. Bring her back. Bring her back. Bring her
Which
back.
all things considered, it could be a lot worse. At some point, Jim Jones had the same power, but at least now you get Jared Leto. Like,
and
he only kills their ears. He doesn't doesn't actually kill their their whole body.
Well, the structure that he owns is that giant house at the top of the hill in Hollywood. You guys ever been in Hollywood? You look up at the top of the hill, you see that weird ass.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That intelligence base.
But Johnny, that is basically Laurel Canyon Studio. That's like, and I think, Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, you Xavier as well, that is where Marilyn Monroe used to go to back in the day.
Oh, really?
Which is like the darker side of Marilyn Monroe that people never talk about. Everyone thinks of the shiny object side, but there was definitely a dark side to her where she would go up to that studio, and they said dark shit was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They were filming propaganda there. So,
but I think they were filming other things there too.
Well, I mean, purportedly. So this is like a shot of the. It's a massive complex. Apparently, in some of it's in a state of disrepair, is what I was told by the person that worked there. But I mean, it's got these almost like guard tower kind of situation here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
strange.
Use some of that fat chick cult money and fix the place up.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough scratch. I mean, I would imagine.
Oh, I would love to see an episode of Fix This House. Just see going, okay, we're gonna go down to that BDSM dungeon area. Okay, we're gonna clean it up. This is how we see this room. We're gonna add some color to it. Get some new chains and some new whips in here.
Yeah,
and he's just walking across the swimming pool.
yeah.
I forgot you guys don't have the power to walk on water. Walk around, meet me at the other side.
He's like kicking dildos out of the way from the night before. Like, oh shit, how'd that get there?
Yeah, I mean, he is. Like, there's him, and then there's like a little overlap. But I don't know if heard of the Color Society. Have you ever heard of that? So do you know Max Landis? John Landis? John Landis directed American Werewolf in London, the Thriller video, Twilight Zone movie. He killed Jennifer Jason Leigh's dad.
What?
Oh, okay. So John Landis directed one of the
Blues
segments
Brothers.
in the Twilight Zone movie. Oh yeah, he also directed Blues Brothers. But
Coming to
directing the Twilight Zone movie, there's this part where he has the actor Vic Morrow running through this Vietnamese lagoon, and a helicopter's chasing him. And meanwhile, Vic Morrow is holding two little Vietnamese kids. John Landis kept telling the helicopter pilot to go lower so that it would look more cinematic. And the pilots are telling him, like, no, we can't keep going lower. This could be dangerous. He says, fuck that. I'm paying you. Go lower. Helicopter pilot goes lower, cuts Vic Morrow's head right off with the helicopter blade, and then crashes, kills both of the kids, who were legally not supposed to be on set because it was at like 1 a.m. Yeah, there you go. So Morrow and Lee were decapitated by the helicopter's main rotor blades. Yeah. And so this is all because of John Landis. John Landis not wanting to miss the shot. And John Landis got in zero trouble for this. Steven Spielberg kind of like helped bury it because Spielberg was producing the movie. And then he went on to do a bunch of other stuff. But
Three Amigos.
Yeah, Three Amigos. Yeah, that's
Spies Like Us. I love Spies Like Us.
That was a great movie too. Yeah, so John Landis is that guy. He has a son named Max Landis who wrote a couple things. He wrote the movie Chronicle, which is actually kind of a good movie.
That's a good movie. Yeah, that's a weird take on like Superman origin story kind of thing. Not really Superman,
but so Max Landis is also a real piece of shit. And he has a group called the Color Society. That's him and a bunch of other like, you know, kind of half-ass Hollywood kids who basically Max Landis is their cult leader. And they do these things called like color parties. They do this like giant Nerf war that like hundreds of people go to in and around LA.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah. Or seen like maybe.
Yeah. So he does that. It's called like the Nerf turf war thing or something like that. It's like a huge thing. But he basically runs a cult and where he like, you know, abuses the women in the cult. Like, I mean, it's a legitimate cult ran by the son of the guy who killed, Jennifer Jason Leigh's dad. But it's very adjacent to Jared Leto's.
Jason who?
So Jennifer Jason Leigh, you know, from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Hateful
80s.
Eight. Yeah, 80s, single white female. Her dad is the guy, Vic Morrow, that got his head cut off.
And then nothing happens. Dude.
Not a single thing. Parents of the Vietnamese kids, the two kids, nothing. They didn't get anything. I mean, it's just, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Which actually Spielberg, they didn't get a sorry, but
they didn't even get a sorry.
No.
Steven Spielberg is so dark.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. He did the slap video, Max Landis, too, where it was like strangers slapping each other in the face like 10 years ago. It was kind of like a social experiment where you just had strangers slap the shit out of each other.
Yeah. So that's Max Landis's thing, is that he refers to everything as a social experiment, a little Shia LaBeouf-ish, but he refers to everything as a social experiment instead of a cult practice, because social experiment sounds less criminal. But yeah,
that's not nefarious at all. It's a social experiment.
Exactly. But that's what he does. I mean, and it's like, you know, I think like Danny Masterson was in the group. I mean, you know, a lot of people who, you know, have a bit of a record now were in this group. But yeah, there's apparently a lot of those. It's not just Jared Leto or Max Landis. I mean, it's like,
I'll show you a quick hold on just a second, I'll get the sound for you.
Oh, is that guy gonna smack the shit out of that fucking Asian twink?
That's exactly what happens here.
Oh, Haley Joel Osment. He is part of the Color Society, by the way.
He's in the Color Society?
Yeah.
That tracks.
Hi,
oh, yeah. So I got Punch a Chick.
Nice to meet you. Okay.
You look nice. Yeah.
I'll slap the shit out of a twink. I don't care.
This.
Oh, shit.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Jamie.
So we have to slap each other.
Yeah.
I have to take off my glasses beforehand.
Oh, you're a nerd.
Just because I'm a nerd.
I'm gonna take my
you don't want to say
jacket
that.
Okay, I would take the rings off too, please.
But is this what inspired slap fight? Slap league, or what's that?
How do we start this?
It's at 1 million. Views is at 1 million. That's
Do
crazy.
you want to go first?
Wish they'd invited me to this.
Okay, all right, just do it.
Oh.
Whoa, she didn't even wait.
Sorry.
Adding scars to my heart.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh shit!
Okay.
Oh, she got all of it. What is?
Oh, this is weird. You're right, man. This is some kind of.
Someone jerked off to this.
I can't hear now.
Max Landis did.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, just let's make even though they're not pets, you know, these are all rich kids. Oh, that's your girlfriend? You smack the fuck out of them? Oh! Oh, well, you're allowed to have a beard?
Looks like every gay guy in there's a faggot.
We keep hitting each other?
You want to do it again?
Hit you again?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, yeah.
You can get first.
No, you go
first.
first.
Yeah. Okay, we got that one slap out, and now we're kind of.
We're gonna do one of these. And then we're gonna do one of these.
It's so strange.
Dude, listen, dude. Everyone's in the BDSM. Rich people are in the BDSM.
That was
bored,
him,
huh?
by the way. That was Max Landis at the very end.
Oh wait, okay.
Which one?
I believe I'm like almost 100% sure the guy at the
Right here,
very right there that's
Yeah.
Max Landis.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Look at that guy. Anybody who cuts their sleeves like that is a piece
Yeah.
of shit.
Yeah. He so yeah, this turns out to be a bit of a fetish that Max Landis has, and every single person who's in this video are his friends in that color society.
Oh well, it turned into spanking real fast, huh? Look at this.
Yeah, of course.
What a shock.
Everything's got to go to butt. I don't know. I mean, have you seen Instagram lately, dude? It's just nothing.
That's your Instagram. Let's.
Yeah. Okay.
It's mine too.
That's
Yeah,
your
I tried
algorithm.
not to, bro, and it's just like, how is this not pornography?
Oh yeah.
Don't follow a
Here.
bunch of big ass models. That's how you don't have a bunch of big asses in your feed.
I'm really trying not to, dude.
I have a social experiment idea here. We buy Sam a new phone and we figure out how long his algorithm goes back to his normal algorithm.
You know what's so funny? That's a
one
great
day, maybe.
idea. What's really crazy is like, if you ever want to see how your algorithm is affecting you, log out of your account and just go to the front page normal, and it's a different reality.
It is, dude. I had to do it because I got logged out of mine a long time ago, and whenever I went back in, I was like, oh, this is what a normal person sees.
Yeah, or just like I'll pick up my girlfriend's phone, and it's just like you said, a parallel universe. It's completely different. Completely different timeline to mine.
So let's wrap this up here. Let's get into some Oklahoma City bombing. What do you want to talk about? Elam City? What's Elam City?
So yeah, it's so there is a conspiracy that obviously Oklahoma City bombing. I mean, some you may know, committed by Timothy McVeigh, and supposedly, allegedly was alone. That he's just a guy who was real mad at the FBI because of what happened, and the federal government really because of what happened in Waco, and which is true that he was at Waco selling anti-government bumper stickers. But there is the official story is that that he was just a disgruntled citizen who wanted to take some people out. The conspiracy is that he was actually part of this group in this city called Elohim City. There was like this white nationalist city that all these people live in these like big trailers, and that they were funding him being able to pay for all the bomb making equipment, because this is a ton of stuff. I mean, it's not something that because he was only like 21, I think. It's not something the average 20-year-old can pay for and do himself, even though he had military experience. So the conspiracy is that he lived at this city for a while and was trained by these white nationalists who wanted to take down the government. And this is obviously at a time in the 90s where militias were becoming like a bigger thing after like Ruby Ridge. And in a lot of the reports, the early reports, the people who say that they saw Timothy McVeigh earlier said that he was with another guy. And they've all given the same description of who this guy is. And who that guy most likely is one of the white nationalists from that Elohim City. And basically the government has been trying to bury that since 96. So
do you know who the guy is that they think it is?
So the theory is that there was this German national who came to the U.S. who, family were Nazis. He did not let the family down and stayed a Nazi.
Not a family business.
Exactly. So that he came and lived at that Elohim City and basically was kind of in a way, kind of a cult leader within that society, like very charismatic, and obviously him having like this German heritage that the people there, find that to be pretty appealing. And he's loaded, like came from rich parents who did very well.
Here we
as
go with
Nazis.
rich kids.
Right. And so he allegedly was one of the people who was in the truck, in the moving truck that Timothy McVeigh was in, that had the bombs in the back.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. And there's a ton of stuff about that city, that Elohim City, and them just it being like a hotbed for white supremacists who have done, I mean, you can look at the people who have lived there at some point. They're almost all people who have been either high ranking members of the KKK or have murdered people or both.
Dude, it is crazy. If you're gonna start a militia, you definitely want a guy with a thick German accent giving you the playbook. You're like, dude, this guy knows what he's talking about. Dude, he's got the best goose step moves possible. His choreography is on point.
The straightest legs you've ever seen.
And it's just like now we look back at like how naive we were during this OKC bombing, and then we like fast forward back to like the Michigan governor getting kidnapped, or the kidnapping plot, and then we go to January 6th and we just see it's a giant Fed operation. Like how many of these people that bought like bumper stickers from Timothy McVeigh were all just like feds? Hey, you young whippersnapper, I'll take one of those wonderful bumper stickers. You're doing great work. What are you up to?
I mean, that's the theory. I mean, is that there was just this, it was not just this one crazy person. And Terry McNichols, or Nichols, I think is his name. Terry Nichols was the other guy who kind of helped him, who also got the death penalty. But he's not the guy who was in the truck with him. Like Terry Nichols was back home in like Michigan or something. And actually, if you ever watch Bowling for Columbine, they interview his brother at the place where they were making the bombs. And it is one of the most bizarre interviews ever. But it's, I mean, there's just this like massive underworld of like white supremacist militias that it's kind of probably died down a little, because a lot of those movements do, like they kind of lose steam.
People age out.
They
don't want to get involved.
Exactly. So it's probably not as big of a thing now as it was in like the late 80s into like the late 90s, but it was a massive thing. I mean, you can find almost nothing about it in any like government resource. Like it's like it's like their version. It's like the COINTEL program. You know, if you,
I mean, we just see this over and over again. How many times do we see like rich, like, or just well-funded organizations funneling money to just like young retards? They just get these young retards to do these stupid things. It's like the old Spider-Man meme, right? Where it's like you have like 10 Spider-Mans, they're all pointing to each other, and they're like fed. Some autistic fuck, fed. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And then you get into all the weird shit about Timothy McVeigh, his death, like how nobody actually saw him put to death. Nobody actually saw his body being taken out. It's all this crazy ass shit. And it's just like Oswald, where it's like, hey, dude, we had this giant impact event happen, and 2 minutes later, we have the guy who did it. How convenient. Doing stupid shit that just got them instantly captured. Like, oh, you're going to assassinate the president. What's your next thing you're going to do? Let's go watch a movie.
Yeah. Let's go shoot a cop. That never attracts attention.
Let's go sit in a movie theater. Perfect thing to do.
Yeah, shoots JD Tippett, who was also a questionable connection. I mean,
who looked exactly like JFK.
There's just so much there. You're like, okay, hold the hell on. Like,
what the hell? What the hell? You know?
Yeah.
Same thing with Timothy McVeigh. It's like, oh, you just blew up this giant building. Let's drive a car with no license plates and guns in it all over the place. Great way to like hide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then get arrested. And the only reason you pretty much get caught is because they're playing the news story on the TV in the jail. It's like, okay, sure. Like that does
How convenient. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a show literally dedicated to that called The First 48, that if they don't solve the crime in 48 hours, it's pretty much done. And here are these giant impact events, and they got the guy within an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not forget the passport that got laminated. I don't know where it got laminated, but they find it after the Twin Towers.
Oh, 9/11.
Yeah, let's not forget that one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, those lamination machines, they do a pretty good job at
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really
keep things
sealed that.
safe.
They're made of adamantium, you know. Very-
The craziest version of that was when I saw it happen in real time, the San Bernardino shooting, where it went from four guys in black military fatigue to suddenly it was like, yeah, dude, this Middle Eastern guy who just had a baby decided to go crazy. Him
Yeah.
and his wife decided to bail on their child. It's such a bullshit story, but it gets into just like, to go full circle. It's like, how much of these cultural events are real?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you saw the. I sent you a little article or a little video about the Las Vegas shooting. How there's like, if you really look into it, there's like phone calls here, phone calls there, a bunch of phone calls going everywhere, and you're like, how did you guys not? It's just a lot of stuff going on. That's another one where I think it hasn't even been looked at all.
No, I'm with you 100%. That Vegas shooting, there is so much suspicious shit about that. Where anytime that they feel like they're trying to hold information, it's like, well, why? Like the guy's dead, so it's not like it could hurt the the case. Like there is no case. The guy's done. So why are you trying to like hold back information? Same with like the Kennedy thing, like all this stuff. Like, oh, I have to wait 70 years. Like, how convenient that all these people are going to be dead when this information comes out.
And,
Like,
and how many times have we heard people promise to release one or the other thing, and then they get in office and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, maybe we can't release this." I don't know. I don't know if.
Oh yeah, Trump.
Trump. Yeah, Trump. Yeah,
well, yeah, and Biden even paid lip service to that idea too. And he was, it came during his term that it was supposed to have been released this most recent time. But it makes it, I think one of two things are true. Either what they find when they're allowed to see the files is so potentially earth shattering that they realize the danger of it, or the people who tell them not to release it are murderers. So I think it's one or the other.
Well, both.
I mean, it could be both. Yeah,
probably both. Yeah, I mean, because there's so much of that information that even whenever they show like the redacted information and then you're able to find out what the redacted information is, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like
but
yeah.
But is it crazier than the CIA killing JFK? Like, we kind of already know that. Do you think there's more, like way more? Like,
it's called Mossad.
Possible.
Yeah.
If you're Trump and you're Kabbalic, what is it called, Johnny? Kabbalistic sorcerer. Okay, you know who butters your bread, or bread your butter. Either one, whichever way you want to go.
I like a lot of butter, man. I like a lot of butter.
You like a lot of bread on your butter, Johnny. That's what they say about you. Okay, you're not gonna put that out, and it's just coming out. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, man. Thank God for X. I know it's not perfect, but man, thank God. A lot of shit talking going on there. A lot of information getting out. But yeah, dude, it gets super crazy. So today there's a big shooting in Georgia, and of course it's election season.
Yep. Time to have the debate.
We're being told children have lost their life. We send condolences to the family. That's a tragedy beyond any understanding, is to lose a child. But here we go, right around election season.
Yeah.
Crank up the hysteria. And they just put out this weird kind of just frequency, and it just bang, all these pharmaceuticals, all this propaganda, all this who knows what kind of subliminal messaging that's going on in these things triggers somebody, they go fucking nuts. And here we go. And dude, these Democrats have zero problems with weaponizing children's deaths. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That to me, like, obviously politics is in most ways just a game. Like, it's who can play the game better. But there's some parts where you're like, well, that shouldn't be part of the game.
Yeah.
Like let's maybe avoid using kids getting shot in the head as a talking point. to promote an issue, using it as a talking point to like bring people together and say, you know, we don't want this happening. That's different. But to be like, now here's what my campaign is going to do about it. You can get fucked. Like, no.
And the worst part is that even if they do, let's say they do ban the Second Amendment, they're not stopping fucking school shootings.
No, because they're not stopping guns.
Exactly.
You're just
That's the thing,
making only bad people having them, which, whoa, that sounds great. Yeah.
And it's not just they decide who gets them also. You know what I mean? Like who can act, and that's, you know, for them to be the gatekeepers of that kind of power is just, I mean, it's such a pain in the ass. To buy a weapon out here in LA for because I want my girlfriend to have one in her name, you know, just like a shotgun here in the house or something. And you have to go take like a quiz. She's got to get like, it's like getting your GED basically. You have to go get this. It's so ridiculous.
Is that by county? Or by state?
I think it's the state. Yeah, I think
it should be state. Yeah, I mean Texas, it's about as easy as it gets. But...
Oh yeah, North Carolina now you don't even need that. For years in North Carolina, you had to have a pistol.
Dude, I hear you can go to 7-Eleven in there and just buy a gun. You go, give me two Gatorades and one shotgun, please.
They'll just hand it to you. They don't.
You can just go to a gun show like
toys with Happy Meals in North Carolina.
Yeah, they give you a couple of shotgun shells. With
you want the Despicable Me or the shotgun with the kids meal?
It's not the best shotgun, but it'll get it up.
Yeah.
It's just super sad. Now they're already talking about how this school was warned about the shooting was about to happen, did nothing.
Yeah,
and
Texas again.
The story starts to fall apart, and that the mechanism for control completely ignored. So these tragedies happen. And we'll see what this is happening in real time, guys. As you hear this, more information might have come out. We don't know, so we're waiting to hear it. But again, just like in the Vegas shooting, just like in the Parkland shooting, things don't make sense. Will we hear that they had some kind of simulation earlier in the day before it happened? We'll find out. It's just, again, everything is a sorcery trick. Everything is a manipulation to manipulate your energy. And that's why, like, again, one of my buddy who I love with all my heart is like, are you spreading this kind of stuff? I'm like, if you don't know their their playbook, you can't know when they're running plays. Yeah. You know, it's like we should all be the New England Patriots filming the other team's offense.
Yeah.
So we know the exact plays they're running.
Yeah. You know who else was doing that? The Canadian national soccer team got in a lot of trouble just like this year for using drones all the time, apparently. Yeah. Everybody knew it too. And the United States was so worried about pissing them off because they have this World Cup bid together, you know, that they didn't report it. That's how they just kind of stuck up. You know,
that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Listen, you want to listen to Tinfoilhat so you can be John Gruden and go to the Super Bowl and play against your team that didn't change any of the plays that you ran the year before. You want to know the plays they're running. That's the point of Tinfoilhat. You want to know the plays they're running.
That's it.
You know? And that's why we're like, that's why it's like, oh, this thing immediately starts to fall. People are already ripping this shooting apart. Like, and it's sad. It's just sad. It's just truly sad. Well, Cody, this was better than we could have dreamed of. It was a great conversation. I just yelled at you the whole time. I can't wait to hear the comments. Well, go on.
Good. Sorry. Oh no, I was gonna say, man, I appreciate you having me on. Man, this was a blast. I mean, I'm used to being yelled at. It ain't nothing new. So
anytime you're interviewing porn stars, Johnny would love to come on and just...
Oh yeah, it's funny, you know, I tell Sam as often as it's appropriate, and probably a little more than that I wish I had been here when the Naughty Show was in full effect, because it would have been a great time. Don't you actually? That would have just been fun, huh?
I would have cleaned the floors.
Oh, I
like
wouldn't
a
do
real
that.
Mexican. Like a real Mexican.
So you'd actually do something on the show. Is that what you're
like
talking
a real
about?
Mexican.
You'd actually have a role? Okay, showing up here fucking high and doing micro shoot, just shit grinning the whole time.
Everybody has to have an Ed McMahon. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Hey now,
Cody, real quick, tell them again where they can find you.
So Instagram is at the Cody Tucker and YouTube at just the Cody Tucker Show. That's the two places.
Look at that
All
smoke
right.
show. Look at all the smoke shows on there.
Stop creeping, dude. Please stop. Oh, look at that. You just go to where it's tits.
Yeah, well,
Just go
yeah. Do what you got to do.
there. Hey, dude, push product, bro. Push product. We know what thumbnails work and what thumbnails don't work.